Hey guys, welcome to the Spring Lake Community House. My name's Bill Reinhardt. I grew up in Spring Lake and I've been coming to this community house for over 50 years. It's my pleasure to give you a little tour today. So come on in.
Thank you.
So this is the Brown Room. It's, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful rooms you will see in the town of Spring Lake. The Brown Room was named after Mr. O.H. Brown, and his portrait is above the fireplace there. Mr. Brown was a wealthy businessman and philanthropist in Spring Lake in the early 1900s. He was also mayor of Spring Lake 3 separate times, as well as a New Jersey state senator. He was incredibly benevolent. He dedicated his life to the town of Spring Lake, and as a memorial to the guys that fought in World War I, he built this community house. He gave $100,000 to the town and the land as well, which he owned, and they built this beautiful structure, which is now just over 100 years old. So it was built in 1923, and here we are 100 years later in this gorgeous room, and it's all thanks to Mr. O.H. Brown. So you can see they decorated it for Christmas. They have the Christmas tree and the ribbons and the little crystals, and if you see this place at night, it is lit up. And it just, if you're not in the Christmas spirit, come to this room and you will surely be in the Christmas spirit by the time you leave. If you're done with this room, it's the women's club upstairs. Okay? Follow me. So here we are on the second floor. We're right above the Brown Room. This is called the Women's Club, because originally this was a club where women would meet. Presently, they use it as an art gallery. Also, it's a meeting room. The town council meets here. The board of the directors for the community house meet here as well. And the interesting thing is they also have a piano, because oftentimes the actors from the theater will come up here. They'll have auditions up here for the shows that they present. They'll also rehearse up here. So everyone will gather around the piano. It's very 1800s, where you gather around the piano and sing your songs and rehearse your parts. The Women's Club with the art gallery as well. So here we are in the balcony of the theater inside the community house. As you can see on stage, they're preparing for their annual presentation of Scrooge the musical. It's one of the most charming productions of Scrooge you'll ever see. They take you back to the 1800s. They have snow, they have angels, they have magic on stage. It's really not to be missed. It will absolutely put you in the Christmas spirit. And I will say, if you do want to come see this show, you need to buy your tickets by Thanksgiving, because the show sells out. They have 15 or 16 performances, but the show sells out every year. So get your tickets early. There's over 100 members that participate in the show, so you have 100 in the cast. So if you can imagine putting 100 kids and adults on that stage. They also line the aisles. They line the edges of the balcony here when they sing and they ring bells. It's really a pretty magical night.
So how many years, you guys have been doing Scrooge here for how many years? And I know that there's like some cast members that have been,
right,
a tradition in and of itself to be a member.
Yes, Scrooge has been going for 42 years now. And in that time, I think there's only been about 4 or 5 gentlemen that have actually portrayed Scrooge. So they're pretty dedicated actors. So when you get that part, you run it for a few years. And then there's milestones. We've had some actors that have been over 100 performances or more. And when they reach that milestone, they're always acknowledged at bows at the curtain call, and we'll introduce certain cast members that have achieved that 100 performances. I was in it for about 8 years. I'm not anywhere near 100 performances, but I am proud to say that I was young Scrooge in the theater for, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, back when I was young. Once in a while, they'll call in people that have done the shows previously. If someone gets sick or all of a sudden has to go away on business, they'll call in people like I was Marley like 2 years ago. My one and only performance of Marley, they called me in for one night only. It's not exactly winging it, but now you just repeat the dialogue as you remember. Well, I was strictly on the script because that's all I knew. So I'm working opposite Derek Hulse, who plays Scrooge that year and this year. And I remember walking off stage after the scene, and he shook my hand. He said, It was so nice to hear the original lines because I haven't heard them in about 6 years.
I thought that year of COVID when they did it outside was amazing.
It was brilliant,
They
right?
did
It was
a
a
really
great idea.
job. It was like cool to be outside in the cold.
It was so cool to sit outside in front of this building.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It was the
kinda
lighting and
chilly.
everything else.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It
Yeah.
was terrific. It's not a very big space. When you're blocking, you have to be very creative when you put on a show here because of the space. But I kind of like that because sometimes when stages are so huge and you have a small drama, I feel like the characters kind of get lost on the stage, and there's not enough. There's just too much space. So it's kind of nice to be in an intimate setting sometimes. And exiting is always a challenge because it's like, keep moving. If one person stops on the exit, you got the whole domino effect. So, everyone keep going off that stage.
I've seen some kids get bounced,
You see, they go backwards, and to stay in character, because after you're singing December the 25th and being all happy, and then to walk off stage, it's just like, oh, be happy, man, keep smiling, So, staying in character. So here we are. This is obviously the dance room, as you can tell by the bars and the mirror. The cool thing about this room is it's directly below the stage above. So when you're blocking and staging dancing, you can pretty much count that this will replicate when they bring it on stage. And the audience is the mirrors, so you can see your actions, and while you're dancing, you can see exactly what the audience members are going to see. So the Spring Lake Theater Company rehearses down here, and the Spring Lake Theater and Dance Academy also has sessions down here for the kids, for the youth of the county. They come here and they rehearse and they put on shows. And if you've ever been to kids dance recital, it's a little bit of magic, but you better make sure your kid's in it, because otherwise it's a very long performance. The cast before every show will meet down here, and they'll all gather, they'll warm up, kind of do their stretching on the bar, and the director and the producer, Pat, will stand up here and they'll give notes prior to every show, and they'll call shout outs, and they'll say, make sure you don't forget this line, don't forget this part, last night it dragged a little bit in this section. So it's kind of like the command center up there, the nondescript area. It's kind of neat because every time I come in this room, when I'm in a show, and I was in a show, I think it was in the last show, like maybe a year and a half ago, you come in here and you're like, oh yeah, that's where all the information comes from. It's a really cool separate area. So just a little bit of theater information. There's a door here with a spiral staircase, so it's a clever use of space. And that goes right up to the stage and right up to the dressing rooms, which we'll show you in a little bit. And so the entire cast of Scrooge, 100 people for the opening number, give or take 2 or 3 ghosts, has to climb that stairwell before 8 o'clock every night. And so you can imagine you got to leave about 6 minutes for everybody to get up the stairs and into place. Here we are actually on stage of the Spring Lake Theater. Again, the set is getting ready for Scrooge, and you can see there's not a lot of room on these wings, all right? On both sides. There's dressing rooms on this floor. There's 2 dressing rooms. There's about 4 on the next floor. And if the cast is really big, we actually have some room on the 3rd floor, which is haunted, so you don't want to go up there. So, and maybe you want to edit that, but that's another story. So anyway, the auditorium holds 350 people. So it's big, but it's not. It's deceiving. It doesn't really look like it can hold that many. But if you're an actor, you can see how intimate this theater is. You're literally speaking right to the people. It's hard to see them when the spotlight's in your eyes, but believe me, when you're standing on stage and someone else is speaking, it's very hard to concentrate on your part and not look and say, hey, there's my mom, So, because you really are that close. So it's very neat. It's, as an actor, this space is just so remarkable and incredible. The sound, you can hear it. You hear it coming back. We've done shows where we haven't even been mic'd. So we recommend it, but if you're doing a small drama and most of the action is downstage, then you can pretty much do a show here without a microphone. So downstage and upstage, Those are two terms you might hear in a theater. How do you know which is which? What's downstage, what's upstage? One way to ever remember, if you're ever in a production, downstage, you go down to the audience. Oh, downstage. That's the only way I remember. So if a director ever says, no, Bill, you got to go downstage, I'm like, downstage. So and the way I go downstage. So downstage, upstage, left wing, right wing. It's always the way the actor's facing, not the way the audience is facing. So there's a few theater lessons next time you guys are on stage. So this stage was pretty much shut in the early 70s. Nothing was going on in this theater. Seats were kind of torn, stage was beat up. In 1976, the town got together and decided to perform a community theater event. So Spring Lake residents only came and they banded together and they did a performance of Bye Bye Birdie. I was in that show way back in the dark ages. My mother was the director because she was the music teacher in town. And Pat Barry, the current director of the Spring Lake Community House, was in that show as well. She played a teenager from Sweet Apple, Ohio. That was the beginning of really the rebirth of the theater at Spring Lake, because 2 years later, Pat went to the town council and said, you have a great thing going here. You know, we need to keep this moving. And they said, well, how do you feel about you being the director of, you know, all the shows going forward, the producer? And she said yes, you know, and she was young, she had 3 kids, and she took that on, and she's kept this theater going ever since. Now, she's humble. She said she's had a lot of help, and she has. There's been a lot of great people in the town of Spring Lake which have assisted, but she keeps it going. She keeps it beautiful, and this is a nonprofit entity. So a lot of it is fundraising. So the proceeds from the ticket sales and everything, that keeps this place going, as well as contributions. The other thing I'll tell you, back in 1976, when we did Bye Bye Birdie, and then the following year when we did Little Abner, there is no air conditioning in this theater. The show was in July, okay, in the summer. So you'll see there's 3 doors on each side of this theater. When we did those shows, those doors wide open. So it was interesting being on stage, and it's like, oh, there goes John on his bike riding down the street, because you could see out. But also, if you happen to be walking by the theater, you could hear, I mean, we had a full orchestra, and you could hear the singing. I mean, it's a throwback to the 70s. It was such a charming way to do theater back then, even though it was hot as blazes on stage. So that was a lot of fun back then. I don't know what else I can add. Any questions?
You have a full band underneath for every performance?
Actually, it's not underneath, it's just in front of the stage.
I see.
So the pit is just that wide, about 5 or 6 feet. Right. The piano doesn't move.
Yep, sure.
So the drum is always underneath that little balcony, and then you fill it. And
that's cool.
For a show like Scrooge, they'll have maybe 8 or 9 pieces, which is a lot. And then if you have smaller shows, it doesn't require as many instruments. It's a smaller space. The one thing they usually do, though, is they do keep a set of stairs in the front of the stage. The theater really lends itself to actors working in the aisles. Yeah. And it's so much fun. I mean, especially Scrooge, because there's a part where in the opening where you're singing, sing a song of gladness and cheer. There's a music break, and everyone, you're the townspeople, you greet people in the audience, and you're shaking their hands. It's, hi, welcome, glad to have you here. It's just it's kind of nice, and it promotes the intimacy of this space.
About how many different productions are you able to put on each year?
I think there's about, I want to say 8.
Those people that were you going to ask that?
No.
Yeah.
So we have a storage facility in Belmar. At least last time I helped to move in a set, it was in Belmar. We'll rent a truck, and all the cast members, we volunteer, and we go and we pull the sets in and out. And when I say the storage center is probably as big as this auditorium, it is huge. And behind the theater, the back wall is actually a double wide door. So that's how we move the sets in and out on a ramp. It's kind of hidden by bushes, so if you're walking past, you don't really notice. But it's really neat when you bring in a set, especially when you bring in a Scrooge set, because it's coffee, it's donuts, you're bringing it in, Christmas music is on, and you're setting up the Scrooge set. Yeah.
what's the timeline for the, to rehearse? How long does it take for like each?
Depends on the show. So a drama, so we did Rumors here a couple of years ago and I was in it. We rehearsed maybe 4 weeks. It wasn't a lot. So it's 3 weeks of rehearsal, 1 week of tech, and then you open. So something like that is kind of condensed. Scrooge, the nice thing about Scrooge is since we do it every year, and the main characters, the leads, Scrooge and the Cratchits and the Ghosts, they've done those parts for years.
How many shows do they do?
Scrooge is the most. I think they have 16 or 18 performances. So they'll do Thursday, Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday. And if you survive, you do it again the next week.
And the next.
For 3 weeks.
And the next week. It's 3 weeks.
Right.
And the reason they do so many shows, number one, it does sell out. But number two, it's a moneymaker. And, for a nonprofit, if you're selling out a show, why not do it one more time? It's a huge commitment for the actors at Christmas time, which is one of the reasons I don't do it anymore personally. You miss,
Everything.
I miss a lot of Christmas parties, but it is such an experience. And I will tell you, closing night of Scrooge, after you do your last performance, the withdrawal is real because it's all love and fun and Christmas and you're so happy. You're singing 24/7 and then it comes to a screeching halt. And I do remember my first year after I did Scrooge, I just sat, I was like in a room, I was like, wow,
Now what?
it's over. And then I said, well, there's still Christmas. I'm like, Christmas. I had Scrooge, it's Christmas, So it really is, it's an unbelievable experience when you do a show like this, especially because you get so close with people.
So pretty much you guys have really 4 seasons.
Spring, summer, winter, fall. It's really,
Yeah.
to your point. So yeah, Scrooge is in the winter, and then we'll have one after that, and then we'll have 2 in the spring. The 2 summer shows are usually the big shows. That's when we get, the bigger audiences, and it's also when we have the bigger cast. Kids are home from college, home from school, and that's also when people like to go to the theater. A night out in the summer, especially here in Spring Lake, you can have dinner in town and walk to the theater. It's a beautiful night and it's a beautiful evening. So, and then after that, they'll have one in the fall, and then Scrooge comes again. It's just keeps churning, keeps churning.
Do you have community tryouts for different roles?
Yes, that's the other thing.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, right? All right, here, first question, where is downstage? Oh, you're in. You're in. Nice job. All right. Exactly. So when you go online, you will see the audition announcements, all right? And sometimes they'll have a little biography of the show. And, with a little creativity, you would look up the show, see what parts are in the show and what fits your character best. They will tell you exactly what's required, whether you need to prepare, 18 measures of song, bring your sheet music, be prepared to sing. If it's a musical and you're going to dance, they'll tell you bring dance clothes because you will have to show us that you can dance a little bit. They work with you, believe me. If I can dance on this stage, anyone can, believe me, all right? So you'll get a little rundown of what's required for the show, and then if it's a drama, it will give you a biography of what every part, and as well as age range, all right? So it'll let you know whether you really qualify for the part or not. Although I did Pippin, I was in my late 30s when I was Pippin. I was about 15 years past where I should have been Pippin, but I had that youthful look, and they put a big wig on me because Pippin had the afro back then. So sometimes you can get away with sliding into the age gap there. So to get tickets at springlaketheater.com, you can see pictures of past performances. You can see the schedule moving forward. You can get tickets online. Anything you need is on the website.